2015, I decided to take all of my paid time off in October and come back to Austin and see if I can actually land a job. I'll give you all the hours. I don't need money. Like, just teach me. And he was like, yeah, why not? I went out like running out of the truck and going to my brother. I was like, he said yes.
Yeah.
It's almost like proposing, you know? Yeah. Like she said yes. Why am I here today is because I kept going. And I always think of it as like the dark before the sunrise. You have no idea what's happening, and your only light is believing in the future. Whether it is you're a leader or you're a follower, there's so many different styles of people and psychological mentalities and passions. It's beautiful. We need this diversity of styles of people. So everybody knows that. Deep inside, they know whether they want to believe it or not. You know, this, to me, that was the biggest driver, is regretting that I didn't do it.
Right. Kareem, welcome to the Meat Mafia podcast.
Thank you guys so much for having me.
Oh, it's been a long time coming. We're so excited for this.
I know, we've been trying to get it on the calendar for like a few months.
You're busy.
We've hounded you in every way possible.
You guys came to the truck a few times, yeah?
We did, yeah. I mean, to eat.
Yes.
But, you know, we were always like, yeah, is Kareem interested in coming on the podcast? Just because we were so excited to tell your story, honestly, and hear what the origin story, because we heard it once and it was like incredible.
Yeah,
so
thank you.
Yeah, we're excited to share with the audience.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here. Thank you guys.
Oh, I mean, the success and the story and the explosion of KG has been incredible to watch, because our buddy Matt put us onto you originally. So I think maybe about close to a year ago, I think was the first time we came.
Yeah, because we went after KetoCon. Like that wasn't our first time going. So,
no, that was our second time.
Yeah.
But I think the first time anyone's ever had your food, it's like, it's tough to explain it, because the flavors, the quality, it's unlike any barbecue you've ever had before. And I know you get this a lot, but it's like the blend of the spices, the rice, the best ribs I've ever had. It's like the pomegranate barbecue sauce. It's like we could go on for hours just how good the food quality is.
I can drink that.
Yeah, you probably have drank it. But it's by far the best barbecue. And then when we met you for the first time, you were telling us all about your story of, like, I think you were in the banking or the finance industry. And it's a fascinating story of how you came over to the States and got involved in barbecue. So I think for the listener, we'd love to just learn a little bit more about your founder story and what you were doing before KG was a thing.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, you know, we're doing a lot of different flavors in barbecue, and I feel like KG BBQ is kind of offering this new twist, fresh, you know, breeze of fresh air that people have been craving or didn't even know they were craving in the barbecue. But yeah, before I cooked barbecue, I had a totally different life. I always explain that my first bite of brisket is my new birthday.
Yeah.
You know? Because literally, that's how it felt like. Like, I had my first bite of brisket and literally everything changed. Like,
and where was that at?
Rudy's.
Okay.
Yeah. Believe it or not. Yeah.
And that was like 2012, right?
That was 2012. Yeah.
Nice.
Here in Austin, yeah. Very random. Like, I didn't know anything about Texas. I didn't know Texas barbecue is a thing. I mean, I always knew there's many different styles of barbecue all over the world, but I had no intrigue or interest in venturing outside of Egypt for barbecue or food. I love Egyptian barbecue. Like, the way we do barbecue in the Middle East is probably still my favorite way. It's more it's more versatile. It's lighter in flavors and the cuts that you choose. It's something you can eat a lot more of than Texas barbecue. And I think that's why it's like the marriage works really well, because what we do in the Middle East and the flavors and the spices and the sides and everything kind of cuts through the richness of Texas barbecue, and that's why it makes it more approachable for many people that don't eat a lot of barbecue or don't eat it as much.
Yeah.
But yeah, I used to work in corporate finance. I went to Cairo University. I studied business because I had an existential crisis when I graduated high school. I didn't know what the hell to do with my life. So my dad actually advised me to study business because he saw an entrepreneur in me. And I did that because it's a really well-rounded, like, you can study business and then do anything.
Definitely.
Right? So, and then I graduated university and I started applying almost everywhere. I was really interested in marketing, advertising. So I was more focused on applying to advertising agencies in Cairo. And then I started getting hit up by banks where I had applied, and I got a really nice offer in a really great department in the bank corporate credit department. Has a great future. It's not, it was a job. I was like, yeah, this is it's a great bank. Like it's a really well sought after position in the bank. Has great potential. Like it's almost like this kind of job is every family or every parent would pursue you or push you to pursue such a career. It has a very promising future. And you look at all the bank, CEOs or the department heads, and they have a lot of money.
Yeah.
They have really weird body shapes. From all this, like seriously, that's one thing I noticed.
Just
like the higher
Just
up
being
you
hunched
go,
over in front of a computer.
like big hunch and like the weirdest shapes, man. It's kind of scary. I took it as a job, and I really liked it in the beginning. The first year, I was like, oh, it's my new job, my new life, my new desk, my new blah blah. It was like
exciting,
fresh new thing, and I liked it in the beginning, and then just like probably a year or even less than a year, I just instantly realized this is not what I'm here to do. It's not mine. I'm sure it's a great career for someone else, but it's not mine. And I feel like that's the problem is most people get stuck in that, like a lot of people have, it's almost like a separation of, this is job, this is work, you have to do it. And then you forget that you can actually find the thing that works for you. And it takes work, it takes time, it takes a lot of like a lot of obstacles that you have to come through and get over. But a lot of people, I feel like they don't realize that, and they just keep going in this grind and just thinking of this as work. You just have to do it and get it done. So I feel lucky that I actually ended up pursuing this, and ended up believing that I can live and do every day something that I love and do it for a living, So I took that job, and I was like, a year or two, I was like, you know what? Fuck this, I can't do this. And then I decided to quit. My love for food started when I was young, from my mother, my family, my first ex-girlfriend. She loved cooking. I saw her cook a lot. And my entire family cooks. We all get together almost every weekend, whether it's at my grandpa's house or we go out to the farm or the ranch and we get together. We take the entire day to cook something and linger on. We spend like hours on the dinner table. Like we'd eat and just like linger and talk and laugh and share stories. It's amazing. So I come from like a food-heavy family, and I always loved cooking. I was really interested in it. In my early teenage years is when I started getting in the kitchen and cooking, and hosted my first dinner party for someone that's outside of my instant family when I was 19 years old. I had my friends over and I made a whole spread when I was 19 years old. And then I graduated college and I was in my finance and banking world, and this idea just kept haunting me. Like I would love to do this professionally. And I can remember always, I think it's Scarface quote. He says, if you're good at something, don't do it for free. I can't remember if Scarface or something else.
We should know that. Being the meat mafia, we should definitely know that.
Yeah.
we'll look into it.
We'll find it. Find it. I mean, during that phase as well, like I had this job and I decided to quit it, thinking that I'm gonna actually do something with food. And I had a lot of ideas. I had a phase in my life where I was obsessed with chicken wings.
Oh.
And I was like, all kinds of wings, baked, grilled, fried, and all different kinds of sauces. And I was like, I'm gonna open a wing shop in Cairo. Ooh. And then it's just like, of course, all the wing shops started blowing up in Cairo. I was like, never mind. And then I took almost 6 months off of my of work, and I thinking that I'm gonna do something, and I ended up just staying at home, not doing anything. So I decided to go back to banking. So I just chose a different bank, and I said I'm gonna give it another try. then I went back and I was like, again, less than a year. I just like, I realized. And that was the first, around this time is when I visited the US for the first time. It was 2012, Memorial Day weekend. Extremely memorable trip for me. First time I visit the US. I have an uncle that lives in Cincinnati, Ohio. So I came here, I had some money saved up from work and got my visa. And I came here for 2 weeks with my grandparents, actually. And we were here, and my friend hit me up from Austin. Like, I have an Egyptian friend living here, and he was like, "Oh, you're in the US. You should come down to Austin for a weekend." And I did. My grandparents were nice enough to buy the flight ticket for me, and they were like, "Yeah, go have fun, go see your friend." And I went here, and I went out the airport, and he took me from the airport to Blues on the Green first. And then we had a lot of barbecue. We had Rudy's. He was like the first. I think we went to Hamilton Pool, and then on the way back we went to Rudy's. So I had a great time in Austin, like meeting the people here, seeing the music, eating the barbecue. Like I really enjoyed this time. Like, this is a very memorable trip for me. But trying the brisket for the first time, that's when I say it was a life-changing moment. I really feel like it was like the beginning of the second half of my life,
Wow. So from that first bite of Rudy's brisket, you knew that that's what you were supposed to do after that.
Not quite like clearly, but like it was such an impactful event in my life that like I wanted more of it during that weekend, and we kept eating a lot of barbecue, and every time I did, I would just be more and more interested in it. And then I came back to, I remember it so well. I had my Canon camera back then. I took so many pictures. I have pictures of that spread. I have pictures of the guy cutting the brisket that I had for the first time. But I was so fascinated by the craft. Of course, the flavors. Like I just got like a flavor bomb in my mouth.
Yeah.
I had something I've never had before. It tastes smoky. It tastes like barbecue, but it's also not what I'm used to. Like we're used to chops and kebabs and koftas and like this like smoky but charcoal char on the meats when I think of barbecue. But this has a different type of smokiness, and it's way more tender than our barbecue. Like our barbecue, when you grill the chops or the loin or that, it has some chew to it. It's not tough, but it has some bite and chew to it. But the brisket, it has such a different texture. It's almost like stew meat, or like that, like fork tender, like falls apart. But it's barbecue. It's cooked on a live fire. So learning more about it and seeing how it's done, it just kept growing on me and keep getting fascinated by how magical this craft is. Like you take the cheaper cuts, the undesirable cuts that people used to grind and not know what to do with because they're too fatty, they're too tough to cook, and you beautifully transform them with this magic and minimal ingredients and a live fire, salt, pepper, and live fire. It's like very minimalistic approach and dry, heat, and like it's just a fire and salt, pepper, and just transforming all these cuts that people really struggle with cooking, right? So that's also what really drew me into the craft. It's not just that it's amazing and it tastes amazing. It's also there's magic. I always think of it that way. Like Texas barbecue, there is magic behind it. The fact that it's easy, but it's not. Also, we have this saying in Arabic. It's sahl al-mumtana. It's like something that looks very easy. If you see like a music performer or a dancer on a stage, he makes it look so easy.
Right.
But you try to do it and it's not. It's really not.
Yeah. Yeah, one of my old baseball coaches used to say it's simple, but it's not easy.
Yeah.
And maybe that's similar to what you're saying too.
That's exactly what it is. Yeah. So yeah, I went back and I didn't, I was in that phase where I knew I wanted to cook professionally, did not have the guts or the energy or the money or the time to actually pursue that dream. And then after having barbecue, I think that was like oh, you know what? This is something that Egyptians would like die for. Like they would love that. You know, like the Egyptians would love this type of food and this type of barbecue. So that was my initial plan, is to like, hey, I'm gonna go back to Egypt and I'm gonna recreate this experience that I had, you know, at home. So the first thing I did was look up, of course, like watch every single video there is out there on YouTube. On
Naturally.
As you should.
Yeah.
It's crazy how much you can learn on YouTube.
Oh
now.
my gosh, you can learn everything.
So that's literally how you started on YouTube?
Yeah, it was YouTube and Franklin's book.
Wow.
So I bought Franklin's book on Amazon, like the online book, and I just read all of it, and watched all of his Franklin's YouTube videos and every single like brisket video I could find, and then I started experimenting myself. I cooked the first brisket in my beach house in the oven. It was probably like, you know, this big. I'm talking like it looked, I mean, maybe like, I don't know, no bigger than a 12-inch diameter. It did not look like a brisket. But yeah, it went straight from the oven to the trash.
Oh,
Failed.
So, you know, I tried.
You tried.
Of course, I hate wasting food. I tried to eat it. I still have a picture of it as well. I even made a sandwich out of it in order to be able to swallow it. You know. But the thing was like extremely burnt. Like,
oh, you just overcooked it?
Yeah, it was like completely dry, like jerky. You know,
You
like,
can't overcook brisket.
Yeah, you can. Yeah.
Didn't you have a Weber grill too, or something like that? Yeah.
Yeah. So my first trial ever was oven brisket, and then I went to this market, like kind of like a high-end fancy grocery store in Cairo, that they had just acquired the agency from Weber Grills in the US, and they started selling Weber products, and there was like a grand opening of a new branch in Cairo, and I went there, and I was lucky that the head butcher of this store was there for the opening. So I went there and I got myself a Weber kettle, which is like the most basic vessel for barbecue, right? Like it's a great vessel. It's a great grill, but you can also smoke on it. And there's multiple techniques or multiple methods you can use to smoke on a Weber. But I went there and I went to the meat case and I asked for a brisket. And I guess the guy like didn't know what I was talking about, so he was like, "Let me go find the butcher." And I was lucky that the head butcher was there for the opening. And the guy came out. His name is Ahmed, and he is such a wonderful person. I'm so glad that I met him because he's one of the best butchers I've seen in Egypt. So he came up to me and he was like, "Oh, my colleague here is telling me that you're asking for a brisket." He was like, "I'm gonna give it to you as long as you tell me what you're gonna do with it." Like he was so curious. What the hell am I gonna take this cut for? Because you usually in the Egypt and probably most of the world, brisket, the plate ribs where the dino beef ribs come from, this all ground. Like people will just grind it because of how tough, and because it just has the right fat content. It's super fatty, makes great like burger or ground meat. So he was so intrigued that by the fact that I want a whole brisket because nobody ever asks for that.
Yeah.
And I told him like this is what I'm doing. I showed him some pictures and he was like, "Let me know how that works out and like how that goes." We ended up striking a great friendship and we had like parties and I would invite him, and when we had big events I would invite him to break down like a whole lamb or like cook things. Like he's a great person. But yeah, it took me like multiple trials. I cooked brisket in so many ways. Like, of course, my biggest challenge was finding briskets. There's a lot with the breeds of cows and cattle in Cairo and Egypt. The flavor is great, but it's not marbled like here, like the Black Angus. And of course, you're cooking barbecue, you're cooking this cut on a dry, harsh 12-hour cook, right? You need so much fat. So the local beef in Egypt just doesn't work. And even the Texas BBQ made it to Cairo recently. In
Wow,
the last
really?
2 years. Yeah. There's like legit like there is people that are doing it properly enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So all of these restaurants they import from here, like they import all of their meats, believe it or not, from the U.S. Yeah.
Interesting.
Because you can't really work with local beef, especially when you're cooking something like brisket. So that was the biggest challenge, is like going to butchers and like I would go and like take my phone and pull up the beef chart.
Yeah.
I was like, here's the cow, here's the brisket. Can you cut it? So and the other thing is aging. Beef in general should be aged for 2 weeks. But in Egypt, the health department doesn't believe in that. Like you have to like kind of do all the processing and selling of the entire animal in a couple of days.
Oh wow.
So the meat is still very green. It's has too much moisture. It doesn't cook right, especially in this setting. So that was the biggest like challenge is like finding, especially with brisket. But sometimes I would cook beef ribs, turn out better. I cooked like a lot of whole chickens and like salmon, shrimp, like everything, duck, like everything. Once I got the techniques down on how to run the fire and experiment with different kinds of wood and water pans and saucing versus not saucing and wrapping in foil or paper, and I just played with it a lot, and then I understood the dynamics and the physics and the chemistry of how this whole thing works out of a Weber, because it's all like now I'm so grateful for that. And like once I moved here, and I already had a great kickstart of knowing how to work with a live fire and how to cook meat on a live fire.
Right.
But every single rig of barbecue it just has the same physics. Like you have a fire source, you have the cooking chamber, you have the chimney or the smokestack. So it's like the physics are always the same, no matter what rig you're using. And then I started this like supper club because things got expensive, of course. Like I was cooking almost every weekend, and I was like running out of all my paycheck. I was spending it on barbecue.
You're still working at this point, right?
Yeah, I was still working.
Okay,
I still had my day job, and I would be in my office, in my
just thinking about brisket.
I would be thinking of my shopping list, and like thinking about what I'm gonna do when I go home.
It's so relatable. I feel like most people who have dreams of doing something other than the 9-to-5 job, but they're in the 9-to-5 job, like they know like their head is somewhere else. And that's a good sign.
You just be daydreaming all day.
Would you get home from the job and then just immediately go to the grill and grill something up for the night, like every single night, or was it mostly just the weekends that you were tinkering and experimenting?
I would say mostly weekends.
Weekends,
just because of like how much time and work it took.
Yeah.
And I always, when I cooked, it's still the same for me. Whenever I cook, I always cook a lot. Even if I'm cooking for myself, like sometimes I'll cook dinner for my girlfriend and it just turns into meal prep.
20 pounds.
Yeah, I know, exactly. I'm like, let's go get some chicken. Here's 15 pounds of chicken breast. Well, I mean, we're cooking it, so we're gonna cook it and freeze it,
Yeah.
It's so relatable.
Like, I'm gonna do the work, like,
You might as well cook for the week.
It's like Nick, right?
Yeah.
Our buddy
100%.
Nick, he always has an eye for when Whole Foods has their crazy sales. Like the Whole Foods downtown will have discounts on their New York strips where they'll sell it for like $15.99 a pound.
Okay.
And I think he noticed it like a couple months ago and he bought 30 pounds of New York strip.
Wow.
And then they had the sale again last week and he bought like another 10 pounds.
Yeah.
Wow.
But he had
Dude,
like
you haven't
30 pounds in his freezer. It's like this masculine urge to just keep buying as much meat as possible.
Yes, yes.
And then it turns into meal
You gotta
prep.
prepare,
Yeah.
One of the things I love investing in is a vacuum sealer. I don't know if you guys have that, or Nick, you should probably introduce him.
Yeah, because if you just throw in a Ziploc bag, the air will.
Yeah, it's always you always get a freezer burn, even if you take as much air as you can out. If you vacuum seal it, especially if you cook a lot or you buy a lot of meat, vacuum sealing it makes it last indefinitely.
Wow.
And you can use sous vide in vacuum seal too, right?
You can sous vide it in the vacuum seal as well.
But that's not. I feel like sous vide is almost. it's like
not,
sacrilegious.
I would never use it on a stick.
Yeah.
I would never. I mean, I everybody has their own. I'm not trying to say anything about anyone.
Yeah.
Everybody has their own school of cooking. But sous vide, like to me, sous vide is a moist, low heat cooking. and you should use this type of cooking for cuts that need a long time to cook.
Right.
Like, steaks don't need a long time, and steaks benefit way much more from dry cooking than wet or moist cooking.
Yeah. Especially the way you describe barbecue, where it's magical and an art. It's like, this is like the scientific way of cooking a piece of meat.
Yes.
The
sous vide.
Yeah.
It's also a lot easier.
Yeah.
It's more consistent. A lot easier. So it takes the challenge out of it.
Yeah, less magic though. Less fun.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I saw my brother was cooking that way once. I was like, dude, this is like so boring. Like, just like, let's throw it on some fire.
Yes,
What, the sous vide?
Yeah, the sous vide.
I know some people swear by it, but it just seems so weird to put a steak in a plastic bag and then drop it in a thing of water.
Yeah.
It just doesn't seem natural.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm not about
it. You know, you probably cannot get more consistency out of any cooking method than the sous vide. Like the sous vide, you cut the steak when it's done, and it's perfect. Like the doneness will be perfect. But good luck getting like a nice char, a nice crust, because you can sear it on the outside and get a beautiful color. But the steak has been cooking in a wet environment the entire time. So that crust is just not going to be the same as if you cook it the entire time. And like to me, is the reverse sear is when you cook a steak. It could be a sous vide. Like the reverse sear means that you cook the steak on a low heat for a while until it reaches that temperature, and then you take it out and you sear it. To me, I always do it on a smoker or an oven. You know, if I don't have access to a smoker, I'll put my steak. I only do that with bigger steaks.
Yeah.
With small steaks, you don't need to reverse sear.
Yeah.
You can just cook it in a pan.
Just sear.
Yeah, sear like a normal.
Totally.
But if it's like 2+ inches, then you need to do like a double, like a low and then high, or vice versa.
Got it.
So I always do to me, a smoker and then a grill is the ultimate way to do it. Like you smoke it and then you just go all the way on a live fire.
Yeah.
If you don't have that, like oven and pan sear, like cast iron.
Well, if you can get that smoky flavor into the meat and then rip a nice sear so you have that crust, it's unbeatable.
Yes, that for real. Nothing compares to it.
Yeah.
You will get like the attention, like people. I mean, there's nothing. I mean, it gets everybody's.
It's
attention.
incredible.
That's what I was going to say about the sous vide. You're not getting anyone going, wow,
you're not
this
gonna
is
have
amazing.
like, some people like standing and staring at the sous vide and like opening a beer and like it's not the same. Like you just can watch a fire and like stand in front of a fire, brings people together.
Yeah.
You know, there's something about it. No, the sous vide wouldn't do that.
Again, magic, like you said. You'd be proud of Harry. We've got a nice little charcoal grill at the office.
Oh, yeah.
We've been bringing steaks in for lunch, and Harry's out there just crushing some steaks out on the charcoal grill, and the taste is amazing.
That's amazing.
That's what we do for lunch, is just rip some steaks out on the grill.
I love that.
We might have to have you over for lunch. Lunch is busy for you, but we'd love to have you over.
You might have to teach us how to do brisket on the Weber, because I've got we've been using a PK grill back at our apartment, but we have a Weber.
PKs are great.
I love the PK.
PKs are great.
Yeah. Just like the shape of it, it's really, it makes a big difference. The Weber is like a whole new experience, but I want to learn how to use it as a smoker. I just usually just grill because it's pretty simple. Like we get decent cuts of steak and just sear it up. And
we can do it. We can do it with like a big steak. We can reverse sear a big steak. Brisket will take a long time.
Yeah.
That would be fun.
I don't mind showing you how to do it.
Yeah.
Just we'll do like a YouTube video so everyone can learn the way that you did it.
Yes.
But will you teach us how to make the pomegranate barbecue sauce, or is that a secret recipe?
No, that's not
Trade secrets.
That's the first.
All right, that's fair.
That's the first thing we trademarked.
Yeah,
I love it.
Was the pump sauce.
All right, we're
you
going to get
should.
into that, but back to the story. So you're working your job, you're researching, you're doing all the barbecue on the weekends. When do you, because you go to culinary school in Austin, didn't you? At Austin Community College originally?
Yeah.
How does where does that come in the story? When did you come back to the States?
So, I did a lot of experimentation back in Cairo in my backyard, and I would invite my friends, and like I was saying, like it got expensive, so I started this thing it was like kind of like a supper club, where I had my friends, everybody that loved my food, they would come and help me put it together, where we would invite more people, but then ask for money, like ask for donation. Like, everybody, you're welcome to come, bring your own drinks, but like put in some money, and I will cook for everyone. Like I'll provide the food, just come in, bring your drinks, bring your friends, have a good time. And people loved it. Like I would do it every Saturday. And I had like people wanting to come, and we would just kind of like ask for a donation. and they would come in, hang out, and eat barbecue and drink, eat something that they've never had before, right? I was happy with my results, but I wanted more. It was still not the same as what I've had in Texas, so I felt like I wanted more. So that was a time where I wanted to take a more serious move about quitting my job, but I had a lot of trouble getting over what my family thought about this. My friends were very supportive because they love me in a different way. They don't have the same like restraints as parents and family, and they believed in what I do. But despite like how much my family believed in what I do, I think it's harder for them to accept that. So it was something that got to me a lot, and it really delayed my process, and it delayed my move, and it made me more scared of it because of how they told me that it's like you're gonna leave your family, your friends, you're gonna leave your job, your stable income, your stable future, promising future, to go work in a kitchen, like something kind of like looked down upon.
Right.
So that was probably the hardest thing. And for that reason, I decided to play it safer than I normally would have. So I didn't even quit my job. In 2015, I decided to take all of my paid time off in October, which is my birthday month, and come back to Austin and see if I can actually land a job. So I took 30 days off, and I came here to see if I can talk to a pitmaster, tell them my story, and like land a job before I quit my other job.
Wow.
And I did that. That was, again, an epic, memorable month for me. I was like finally like not working for a whole month. And I had so many recipes lined up that I've been wanting to cook. So I would go to the store like once a week and I get all these ingredients. And every day in this month, I made a new recipe. It's not barbecue. This has nothing to do with barbecue. It's just like recipes that I've been reading about or seeing, and I've wanted to cook. And then I would go out and I hit like multiple barbecue joints every day. My process was like, I'm gonna go in and get a sampler of their barbecue and then sit down and eat it. And if I like it enough, I would go and talk to the owner and see if I can work with them. So I did that, and I've hit up every single joint you can think of. That was 2015, so like there was a lot that hasn't opened yet.
Yeah,
right.
But all of them, we got like Valentina's, Franklin, La Barbecue, like all of these places that were even like Sam's. I don't know if you guys know Sam's Barbecue. It's like black-owned barbecue on the east side.
Okay.
I think it's east. Well, it's a very old joint, like very, very old. And multiple like downtown spots. There's a place called Brown's Barbecue North South Lamar.
Yep.
There's a place that used to be called Lone Star Barbecue. It's not there anymore. Like, which is funny. Like knowing, even like remembering the fact that I applied in places that don't exist anymore. It's funny. And I was actually faced with almost like 100% rejection. Like everybody said no. Because that was, I think, my theory is that was a time when barbecue was really rising. I think barbecue in Austin has always been there, of course. But Franklin started in 2009, and Franklin made a whole revolution in barbecue. And like being, very scientific, nerdy about it, and like making it really cool. Like you don't really have to leave Austin and go to Lockhart or Elgin to get good barbecue.
Right.
Like this guy came up and like he has it in his family and he's like super nerdy about it. So he's executed it really well. So he made a whole revolution in barbecue in Austin, and not just Austin, actually, like worldwide. I think he made a whole revolution in the barbecue. And then 2009 and then 12 and 13, this came another wave. There's so many joints that opened up in 12 and 13. Curlin, Valentina's, La Barbecue, I think Friedman's was probably there before that. But like there's around 12 and 13, there's a huge wave of barbecue joints that opened. So when you think of 15 and 16, it's like the competition is there now. Like Austin is becoming the capital of barbecue, and like everybody's being very competitive about it, being protective of their recipes. And so that was like the time when I was like, he is the Egyptian guy coming in, trying to steal your recipes. You know?
Yeah.
But I told them like, I'm not gonna compete with you.
Yeah.
Even though
I just want to learn.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. I was like, I told them like, I'm from Egypt. I'm really fascinated by what you're doing here, and I want you to teach me. And I'll go back to Egypt, and that my plan was to bring it back.
Yeah.
Egypt. Never had plans to leave Egypt actually. But yeah, everybody said no. Everybody said no, and I even had like little souvenirs and like beer cans. Like I would go to the Pitmasters and give them an Egyptian beer can and like a little souvenir. But yeah, everybody said no. We don't do that. We're staffed. We're overstaffed. We don't do that. All the way until the end, I decided to offer my free labor.
Wow.
I said I'm gonna work for free. Like I was getting desperate, and I really wanted to do this. So one of my last stops on the weekend was Curlin Barbecue. You guys familiar?
No.
Yeah, Curlin, again, spot that recently closed in the pandemic. They opened in 2012. They were in business for 8 years. Family-run truck. They used to be on Cesar Chavez. They're famous for their barbecue kolaches, which is what they're doing now. They let go of their barbecue operation and they're doing just kolaches.
Really?
You guys should try it.
Really?
Yeah.
And they're still at the same spot?
Yes, they have multiple locations actually.
Okay,
and they make thousands of kolaches every day, and they sell it in multiple trucks, and they also sell it in like the blue grocery. What is it called?
Royal Blue.
Yeah, Royal Blue, and like multiple cafes and.
Nice.
So you guys should definitely like order it sometime for lunch. Get some kolaches from there. They're really good. So yeah, I walked up to the Curlin barbecue family, and I remember it so well. You know, we became amazing friends. We're really good friends till now. I walked up to Emily's, his wife. She's from Venezuela, and Bill Curlin he's from Philadelphia. And I remember so well. You know, I walked up to the truck, and my brother was here, and my friend was here. They came, like I was here for a month. My brother and my friend came to see me on the last weekend. They stayed with me here on the last weekend of this trip. So both of them were with me, and we walked up to the truck, and I was like, you know, we got the food. I went back, and I was like, hey, the food was amazing. Can I talk to you guys about this thing? I'm looking for someone to teach me. And she was like, you can go talk to the boss. The boss was like in the smoker, like Bill Curlin, he's in the smoker. I learned later that she is the boss, it's not him.
As always.
Yeah,
the
exactly,
lady's the boss.
He thinks he's the boss. I went up to him and I told him, you know, I'm from Cairo, my name is Kareem, and I'm interested in learning from you, and I'm willing to work for free. Like, I just want 3 months of your time, and I'll do whatever you need. Think of it as an internship. You can use my work and services, all the hours. I'll give you all the hours, and I don't need money. Like, just teach me. And he was like, yeah, why not? Like, yeah, I remember that so well. Like the feeling that I got. You know, I went out like running out of the truck and going to my brother. I was like, he said yes.
Yeah,
it's almost like proposing. You know, like she said yes.
Yeah.
And that was on the last weekend too.
That was the last. Yeah.
Wow.
That was really one of the last stops. I don't think I went to another spot after that.
Wow.
Like it felt like I felt the success. You know, already, even though I haven't even started.
Right.
But it felt like it's happening. Like this is like one step closer to the dream. You know, like I landed something. Like that's like the hook. You know, like I hooked on something.
Right. What made you feel confident that, you know, you weren't going to need pay necessarily, that you would just be able to go over for the 3 months and do your thing?
You know, I wasn't really confident about that.
Yeah.
You're just like, let's roll the dice.
Fuck it. Like, I'm going to be completely honest. It was out of desperation. Like, I was like, you know what? I'm going to make it work when I have to make it work.
Right.
But it seems like nobody wants to do that. Like, which I understand. Like, if somebody came to me, I was like, I'm going to work for you and you pay me for the next 3 months, and then I'm going to leave I'm like, fuck no.
Yeah.
You know, of course I wouldn't say yes to that. Which that's probably why, like, I ended up understanding where they're coming from and just like kind of giving another step forward. I'm like, I'll compensate you by not paying me. I'll just give you free labor for 3 months. Which is what probably ended up working out for me.
Yeah.
So yeah, like he said yes, and I was like super stoked.
Game on.
Like it's on. Like
Yeah.
it's happening. And I went back to Cairo and I quit my job, and I was like, finally, it's happening. And I was like, here. And I went to my parents and my family. I was like, I have a job, even though I'm not getting paid, but like I'm not gonna stay home this time, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, I went back and I quit my job and like kind of got everything together and got all my savings and then I moved here. Like that was the beginning. That was 2016 February is when I moved here. I worked for Curlin for about 3 to 4 months. 3 to 4 months in, I really loved it. Like I plugged in so easily. They were very impressed with my skills and like what I can do, not just in the smoker, but also in the kitchen. Because I've been cooking for so long. Like I've been cooking and reading and watching so much about cooking. And then 3 or 4 months in, you know, things start evolving, and I really, really start falling in love with Austin. And that's when like kind of things like shifted for me, which is what has been so interesting, watching how my dreams and my goals change and evolved in those last 7 or 8 years. I came here with the plan of taking this craft back to Cairo.
Yes.
But now it looks so different. And over the last 8 years, everything kept changing. And that was like the first thing is like, oh, hey, I really like it here. Like, I really like Austin. I like its people. I like how relaxed this town is. You can go to a bar and like find somebody in flip-flops and next to like, you know, people like people are themselves here.
Yeah.
And it's so welcoming. It's diverse enough, you know, and the outdoors, the food, like people, the hospitality, the friendliness, everybody's nice and warm and friendly and welcoming, which has high resemblance to Middle Eastern culture. The country, cowboy, you know, like country, huge side of country in Egypt, like farmers, like like the whole countryside in Egypt is so relatable to me, and like how it is like here, their values. And how different they are from the city people. This is super relatable in Egypt. So that was the first like change for me. It's like, you know what? I really like it here. I would like to stay here.
Yeah.
And that's when I went to culinary school. You know, I was like, okay, maybe I can pursue a pitmaster career. My dreams first started shifting from taking this idea back to Cairo to wanting to be a pitmaster for a well-known barbecue joint here. That was the first change in these plans. And the way I asked Curlin. I was like, you know, I went up to Curlin, of course, after 3 months, and I was like, you guys, I'm kind of running out of money. Like, you know, I'm kind of ready to get paid now.
Yeah.
Because that was a lot of work.
Yeah,
it was so much work. I've had like hours. They did the only year they catered, or they took their truck to South by Southwest. Was that year. So it was intense work. Like, and down South by, I would work like 18-hour days, multiple days in a row. I wasn't getting paid. You know? I was like, I mean, I was here for it. I was totally here for it. But like a few months in, I told them, guys, I'm kind of liking it here. Yeah. I'm running out of my savings and I need money.
Right.
So it didn't work out with them. And I decided to move on. And that's when I went to Valentina's. Because I was trying to start making income in order to go to culinary school. So I got hired at Valentina's, Tex-Mex. You guys have tried it?
Yeah.
I haven't been there.
Oh, dude, you have to.
It's good.
You have to do yourself.
Really?
Favor, yeah.
Scott loves
It's
it.
amazing.
Yeah, I've
Our
heard
pastor loves it.
He brings it up all the time.
Yeah.
He was the toughest boss to work for, Miguel. But he has the most inspiration on my cooking style.
Really?
Yeah. And he also has, you know, I got the inspiration of doing Egyptian barbecue from working there.
Interesting.
Because Valentina's, they're like the OG fusion, right? Like
so theirs is Mexican barbecue.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it is Tex-Mex, but it's Mexican. Like,
Okay.
They have homemade tortillas. Their sides are rice and beans. lime, salsa, fresh guac, fresh tortillas. So the spin there that they're doing on barbecue is amazing. It's amazing. If you get a slab of moist brisket, put on a fresh hot tortilla with some guacamole and salsa,
So
and a
good.
squeeze of lime, it's so good.
Yeah.
It's like the OG. Like I think Valentina is one of, if not the first place to do fusion barbecue. Did a great job on it. I'm not a fan of any. I haven't been there in a long time, but I wasn't a fan of any of their other meats like sausage or ribs or chicken or any of that. But the idea of taking this brisket and putting it in a different dish that is very ethnic and you are used to eating it, but without barbecue, that was it for me. It's like, and they do breakfast. And here's the thing: like you have like breakfast potatoes in a pan, and then you add some chopped brisket to that, and like scrambled eggs, creamy, fluffy, guacamole, salsa, tortilla. Like it's amazing.
It's almost too much of a good thing.
Yeah, exactly.
And so Miguel was the head chef there, or the owner,
Miguel is the owner and pitmaster. Yes.
and he was tough, but he pushed you.
Yes.
Yeah.
He was a really tough boss person to work for. But working for him and learning from what he does and his cooking style has brought me the most inspiration from any of the pitmasters that I worked for. And seeing what he's doing with barbecue and the way he grew up eating and his Mexican background is what kind of put me in a place to think about Egyptian barbecue, right? I'm like seeing what he does with barbecue, and then I eat it and I love it. And then I start thinking about, pita bread and like fresh herbs and mint and tomato and a little bit of tahini sauce. So I'm taking all this classic cuisine, like exactly like what he's doing. I was like, that was the reason why I thought about it. Like I'm eating this, brisket taco, and I'm thinking of shawarma. I'm thinking of shawarma and the ingredients and the bread and the sauces and the condiments. I was like, what if you put brisket in shawarma? So that's like how I got the inspiration, So yeah, I actually went after it didn't work out with Curran. I went to Valentina's and they hired me. So I went back to Egypt. And then I came, I kind of took a quick break and then came back and started going to school, Austin Community College. I did the culinary program there for like a year. Never actually ended up finishing it. Almost. I want to go back and finish it, but I still have like a couple classes left. But that was one of the hardest working phases. Like I went to school full-time, worked at Valentina's 60 hours a week. Wow. My shifts were 3 p.m. to 3 a.m., 5 days a week.
Wow.
Yeah. And I would go to school first and then go to Valentina's to work. So that was tough, but I was like, that was a phase of like absorption of knowledge and information. It was like on fast forward, I'm like fast forward the learning. I went to culinary school and like learning from Miguel. And things didn't work out with Miguel, so that was like after I think I did not even last the whole year at Valentina's. It was probably 8 or 9 months. And then leaving there was really tough. Because I didn't want to, but I also couldn't keep going. His some of the management styles and like just there's some things that did not work for me, and I could not keep in it. But it was really tough because it felt monumental and it felt like I'm depending on it. Because that was my plan. I was like, I'm going to find someone. And that's what I told him. Like, I will work for you and I will go to school if you let me be your pitmaster. Work me up to be your pitmaster. And that was the plan, So, like, leaving there felt like I'm almost like breaking off something that I'm depending on.
Like it was done, potentially?
Yeah, not like the whole thing was done, but it was really scary. It was really scary. Like, it felt like the rug has been swept off of my feet, Like I didn't know what the future is gonna look like.
Yeah,
right. Like, how am I gonna get something else? And like, but I kept moving. And I at this time I kept applying in different places, and I worked at don't know if you guys know Friedman's. Friedman's was a whiskey bar and barbecue joint on campus.
Okay.
It ended up closing down. They had decent barbecue. Their whiskey was great, but like the vibes, the idea of the joint, it's a historical Austin building as well. So it's like super old building that you go sip on whiskey and eat barbecue. It was a great place.
That's awesome.
I worked there very briefly, and then I got a job at Roland Smoke, which is a East Side late night barbecue food truck. It's kind of like a one-man show kind of operation.
Yeah.
The truck is so tiny. It's so tiny. And they have a 250-gallon smoker. It's like right in the back of the truck. And it's like you're the cashier, the prep, and the pitmaster. And it's like 6 p.m. to 4 a.m.
Wow.
Yeah. So I did that for a few months, actually. I enjoyed it. I didn't enjoy the schedule or the sleep schedule that it put me in. But running the operation all by myself, cooking the meats, serving the food, doing the cashiering, and being out in the street during this time, talking to the drunk people, and like in the late night. Of course, it was fun until it stopped being fun.
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah. And then I did that for a few months, and and then my longer, more impactful job was Lambert's downtown barbecue. It's a sit down, not high end, but more casual dining. They have barbecue. They do rotisserie. I think now they have offsets smokers, but they used to do rotisserie when I worked there. I got hired there to cut barbecue, and on my first day, the grill cook walked out, literally on my first night of work. The grill guy just left the line. So the chef looked at me. I was like, "You on the grill now." And they had a wood fire grill, huge, like this big. You just throw logs of wood in there. Super busy restaurant, like super busy. I'm talking about 2nd Street, like downtown Austin. No matter what time of the year, it was pumping. Busy.
Yeah.
So I did about 1.5 years over there. That was one of my longer stops of learning. I think that was the phase where I was like trying to give this like whole like being a chef career a try, you know. Working in a full-size kitchen, I also wanted to learn not just smoking meats outside. I wanted to learn how to run a kitchen, how the hierarchy of the kitchens work, and how to do ordering, how to do supply chain, how to do all of that. So working in Lambert's was super helpful in that way of like knowing how a line in a busy kitchen works,
right?
And how people can work together, how you can lead a team, how different stations operate together, how they should prep, how you can use anything that you have a lot of, you know, like watching the sous chefs and watching the chef do their thing and being under their guidance all the time was so helpful. And being inside a place that cranks out so much volumes from different stations like that, and being coordination and like watching the chef or the sous chef, whoever is on the line as the expo or the manager, run the whole thing like a maestro. You know, you have to be the maestro if you're running a busy kitchen, and that's what I enjoy the most. If I'm in my truck, I enjoy the expo. Which the expo is like the front of the line. You are the last point where the tray is handed to the customer.
Yeah.
Or the food goes out. You are the last person. You are the first person to see the ticket as well. So you're like, you see what comes in, and then you have your team. So you are playing the instruments, and you're here, you're managing this whole orchestra, and then everything comes back to you, and you give it to the customer.
So expo would be like quality control. Like
expo would be like really the maestro is the perfect way to like, yes, you are doing quality control, but your most important job is to make sure everybody's doing their job in the right time, because you don't want like the meat to be cut and then you're still waiting for sides.
Yeah.
Right. Like you have to time everything to where everything lands in the right place in the right time, and everything looks good and it's ready to go. And then you're taking all the orders. So you are the one that organizes your board. You have your tickets, and you're like, okay, we're gonna work on this, now this, or these two together. So that's what I enjoy the most now. I enjoy expoing. I also enjoy cashiering because I get to talk to the people.
Yeah, you do love to cashier.
I do.
Yeah,
I really do, because you get that social. I mean, again, it's one of the stations that can get hectic, socially hectic.
Yeah.
Like you can feel so drained after a long day of talking to people. But when I don't do it for a while and I come back and do it, it's so rewarding. And like people come, yes, for the food and the experience, but a lot of people come to like they want to talk to me. Like they want to come to say hi, and like once they see me on the window, I feel like they get excited, and that's such a rewarding thing.
Yeah,
like it's like people, you know, it makes me remember like how much this work is affecting people,
right?
And it's really humbling and heartwarming, you know, to see those people coming in with the enthusiasm that they do.
Does it bring you back at all to those times when you were throwing the parties and people would just bring money and, you know, you would just be cooking for everyone?
You know, it's definitely a different time. Like back then, it felt like I needed that. I was trying to do my best to get out there and like make my dreams happen and come true. But this now, the people that come through now, it's a totally different feeling in the sense of that it feels like my hard work is paying off, you know, like getting the attention or getting the reward from whatever awards or whatever that we're getting, but mostly from the people, you know, people that come, we're like, oh, I drove all the way from, you know, whatever, and people come from everywhere, and I saw your YouTube video, and like I'm so excited to try your food, and then they try the food, and then they come back, and they were like, I've never had anything like this. You need to come and open your food truck in, you know, this place. And this is the only way I want to eat barbecue now. And like, it's so humble. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And like this really, it takes me like for a whole flashback of all the hard work that I've done. And it makes it feel great. And it makes it feel like it's totally worth it, you know?
This fly's being a pain in the butt. I'm sorry.
Yeah, for anyone listening, there's a fly that's absolutely
battling with a fly.
It's harassing Berkey. He likes the stash.
He can smell the pomegranate barbecue sauce.
He hasn't even thought about coming over here, so that's
Well, I'm sure it is so humbling thinking about the fact that now KG is at a point where there are definitely people that have seen that YouTube video that has 2 million views, and they're planning their entire Austin visit around going to KG. And I know for us, after we saw the video and we're like, oh, that Kareem is like working the cash register, and he's the owner. So other people definitely feel that too.
Yes,
so for you to be able to give them that experience, it just tops it all off.
Yes. You know, I always think about like why? What is making this food truck or this business or this Egyptian barbecue thing become so successful and bring so much attention and bring people from all over like that? It's been a question that's been on my mind for a while, like seeing the people's reactions and see people like, oh, I drove all the way from, you know, Denver. I'm like, no, you didn't. Like, no way. Like,
Denver, is that a town in Texas?
I'm like, yeah. I was like, I can't believe it. And like for a long time, I was like, of course, like I'm sure you have something else to do here in Austin, and sure you're gonna try the barbecue. But then, you know, I mean, yes, the YouTube video came out, and then watching all the comments on the YouTube video, it's amazing. It's truly amazing. Like I'm seeing people from Egypt, so many comments from Egypt. It's like go Kareem, you're making us proud.
Wow.
Like, yeah, it really
That's
is.
amazing.
It really is. You know, so you know, I thought about it, and like we come these people, and like I'll be teaching a class. For example, I do them like twice a month now in the truck. I teach a brisket class, and you'll see everybody peeking. Like we do the class in the morning before the truck opens, and the class ends at noon. So there's this overlap from 11 to 12 where the class is still going, but the customers are already filling up the brewery. So we get like people kind of like trying to sneak in and like see what's going on, and I'll be walking by with a tray of brisket or whatever, and people go like, "Here's the guy. That's the guy. That's the guy from YouTube."
Yeah.
So you know, I think about it a lot. Like, why this is happening? I know I've put so much work, and I worked hard on developing the menu and making sure everything is great and to my liking first. But I really think it's the reason it touches so many people, I think, is because of how or what it means to me. Is like it's something that I do from so deeply down my heart. Like it's something that I created for myself first. It's not something that I made for a business idea. It's not just entrepreneurial. It's not just something that I want to make money out of. But it's something that means so much to me, and the way I grew up, and the way I ate when I was growing up, and the influence I had from my family, and it's all just kind of coming together, and it's worked. Of course, a little bit of American eating preference is worked into it. Like there's so many dishes that I introduced over the last 5 years in pop-ups that just didn't work. Like it's like dishes that I love so much. And I was like, people are gonna love this, and I put it on the menu, and just no one wants to buy it.
Interesting.
Yeah. So like knowing, it's been also really cool and interesting to learn how to make Egyptian food more palatable to American diners. That has been a really cool part of it as well. But I really, I think it comes down to doing something with passion, like doing your best at something with all what you have right now, and this thing means so much to you, and you want to be the best at it, and you want to be creative and unique. But first of all, this thing is like I do it for me. Like I do this this is how I want to eat. I'm not trying to make it for anyone else. I'm not trying to think what's gonna work and what's not gonna work. So, and I really think that's why it's impacting so many people, is because it's so close to me, and I do it from my heart. But yeah, I mean, like after Valentina's, after Lambert's, was a year and a half working on the line at Lambert's. I got offered a sous chef job there. I didn't take it. I was glad I didn't take it. And I decided to move on to a new phase of butchering. Because by then I had the barbecue experience. I know how to smoke meats now. I know how to work in a line in the kitchen. And then I wanted butchering experience. Like I wanted to be able to break down a cow, a pig, and a lamb. And I also wanted to learn how to make sausage and charcuterie. So I applied at a place called Lone Star Meats, and it's basically like I still had Lambert's then, and I used to go to Lambert's from noon, I was actually 3 also. It was 3 to midnight. And I got another job at Lone Star Meats. I would go from 9 to 2, and then 3 to midnight. 9 to 2 was the butchering job. And 3 months in, I quit it because I realized it's like the opposite of what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
It's not a butcher shop. It's like a meat processing facility. They don't get whole animals. They get box beef, which is the term for what is killing the butcher industry is the box beef industry. So all the places we buy meats from, they don't get whole animals anymore. Even most butcher shops don't get whole animals. Yeah, it's really sad actually. But most butchers will get the cuts that sell the most from facilities. They sell them in boxes or cases. Like we get cases of brisket, right?
Yeah.
So there's like huge facilities that they get the animals and they break them down and they do all the ground meats, ground cuts, all that, and then they package everything in boxes. This is the brisket, this is the chuck, this is the ribeye, So even butchers now, they were H-E-B, Whole Foods, even specialty grocery shops, a lot of them buy box beef. They don't bring in whole animals.
Wow.
So I worked for 3 months, like packaging steaks on a like a factory line. I was like, this is like the opposite.
Not what you're
expecting. This is what I don't want. This is what I hate about in the industry, like the mass production of meats. So then I applied at Salt and Thyme Butcher Shop for the second time. I don't know if have you guys been?
Oh yeah,
definitely. Yeah. Their butcher shop is unbelievable.
It's great.
You ever want a good charcuterie board?
Yes, absolutely.
Best selection.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you got the job at Salt and Thyme?
I did finally. Yeah. It was the second time I applied there. I think I applied before I started working at Lambert's, and they said they didn't hire me then, and then I went back. And Brian, the owner, we have a full circle now. Brian is he's the owner or co-owner of Salt and Thyme. He's not an active partner anymore, and he left and he works for Superior Farms. Superior Farms is my favorite lamb, local like American lamb company.
Wow.
They sponsor me.
Oh wow.
So I work with them. I worked with many lamb suppliers, and Superior Farms are like spot on. They have the best lamb in the country. So I work with them, and then Brian starts working as the regional manager of Texas.
Wow.
So like I work with Brian now.
That's incredible.
Yeah, it is
So cool.
Really is full circle. Yeah. So yeah, I got back to Salt and Thyme, and he recognized me. He was like, "Weren't you here like 2 years ago?" I think he respected that.
Yeah.
You know, he actually hired me. Then he was like, "I actually respect that you're back and you're consistent." And he hired me, and I told him I'm interested in butchering. I want to learn butchering. And he ended up kind of like cornering me in charcuterie. But it ended up working for me because I really liked it. I still was there. I was in the cold room watching Brian break down animals. I would learn from him everything. But I worked my way up to be the production manager of charcuterie at Salt and Thyme.
Nice.
So I did the scheduling over there. I did like basically my job was to take all the scraps from the butchers and turn it into product. Whether it's like homemade sausages or like fresh or smoked or salamis or jerky or like anything. But basically your job is to take the byproduct from the butchers and all the scraps and make valuable product out of it. Which is arguably a more valuable skill than butchering.
Definitely.
Like, even if you break down an animal, you mess up something, you can turn it into a beautiful sausage. And I love, like making sausage and the craft of sausage. To me, it's like meat engineering.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you are creating the bite. You're engineering the perfect bite, whether it's flavor, meat types, fat content, whether you're choosing beef, lamb, or pork, or a combination of them, how much fat you put in it, which cuts you use in it, if you're using cheese, herbs, vegetables, cooked or not, how much you smoke it, like if you double smoke it. There's so much that goes into it, and it's such an art. Like it arguably could be, you could make a sausage that can taste better than a brisket or taste better than a bite of meat, So it's been such a cool experience. And working alongside someone like Brian, who's like master butcher in his craft, I learned so much there. Like this was a major step in my journey. Is learning. I worked for a year and a half at Salt.
Wow.
Yeah. I had a major like dip in my career during the pandemic. The pandemic was really hard for me. I had. So like all the way up to Salt and Thyme was, that was 2020, like beginning of 2020. I was still at Salt and Thyme, and it's been already 4 years of working every day, like full-time jobs. I hosted my first pop-up in 2017. So that only 1 year after I started cooking for barbecue joints, I was working at Valentina's, and my coworker was gonna cook for this event in this tiny honky-tonk in South Austin called Giddy Ups.
Yeah.
Very old, tiny bar. And he was like, I'm gonna be out of town. Do you wanna take my pit and go cook for this event? It was a South by event. And I was like, yeah, why not? So I did it. And I was like, that was the first time that I ever sell my food. Did not do anything Egyptian. I did classic brisket, ribs, sausage, mac and cheese, beans, and like, potato salad. Like made a very classic Texas barbecue spread. And people loved it. Like I went there, he towed the smoker out for me. I didn't have a truck, didn't have any of that. So he towed the smoker out, and I just went to the bar and slept in the car, smoking meats overnight.
No way.
Yeah, I cooked the sides in my house, and then I took everything over to the fridge, and then I just spent it overnight in the car and slept in the car, and I was ready to serve the next day. And I really loved it. Like the bar loved it. It was it's a super cheap bar, South Austin. So I was like selling pulled pork sandwiches for like $7. and people still complain about the prices.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, what the fuck, man? Like, why don't you go
So
do
cheap.
it? So that was like how I started doing pop-ups, and then I found this other spot called Diaz Market, which is also a very similar story. Another friend was supposed to cook for them, and he was leaving town, so he asked me to do it, and that was the spot. We did the pop-up. It was super successful. I was able to charge higher prices. Still same Texas BBQ. Didn't do anything Egyptian. That was 2017. It was like their first anniversary. It's a small, tiny little hippie grocery shop in North Lamar. And I did that, and I was like, I called them back, and I was like, you guys, this was great. This was a great event. I sold out. I cooked as much as I can. I sold out. Do you guys want to do it again? And they were very excited about it. And I was like, yes, let's do it. We did it every 2 months, and then we did it every month, and then we did it every 2 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah, for a while. So I did that, and this is really where I developed my menu in these pop-ups, and I started slowly introducing Egyptian dishes, Egyptian flavors. From the shawarma was the OG, like the sandwich, like the pita bread, the chopped brisket, the fresh salad, tahini sauce. That is the OG idea of the whole fusion. So that was the first thing that came on the menu, and then it was followed by many, many other dishes that came out, and everything that stayed in is what we have right now in the menu. And along this time, I also started teaching classes. I got on this website called Cozy Meal. It's an amazing website. It's a platform for you guys should check it out as guests. You know, you can take your girlfriend or partner to a Valentine's date where you go to like a chef's house and learn how to make sushi.
Really?
Yeah, it's so
That's
cool.
incredible.
You can
That's so
make
cool.
homemade pasta with a professional chef.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So I started applying there, and I got hired, and I got on their platform teaching brisket classes, steak classes, Middle Eastern cooking, how to make tacos, how to make pasta, like everything that I know. I basically made a curriculum for a class, and that was the most fun. Like I would just be home. I would be selling seats in my dinner table. Like people would come to my house every weekend, and I'll teach them how to cook a brisket. And then the classes would just fill up. You know, I wouldn't do anything. Like it would just post the classes, and they're on the calendar, and people would just start reserving and booking seats. So I did that for a while, you know, and then the pandemic, like I was doing private events, dinners, classes, pop-ups. And then right around the pandemic time, I was feeling good about quitting Salt and Time. And I was like, you know what, everything is picking up. It's great. I have a lot of consistent clients now. I'm making more money than my full-time job from these side gigs.
Wow.
So I was ready to quit Salt and Time. And I was like, right before the pandemic, I quit Salt and Time. The pandemic hits. And then I just overnight lose everything. Like I lost my full-time job. On my calendar, everything disappeared for the foreseeable future. All the classes, all the events, the pop-ups, the private dinner, everything is now gone, you know. So that was a really difficult time financially, especially. I would say my struggles have been most of it was financial since I moved here. But I started driving for Favor and DoorDash and Uber. Like I did that like 10 hours a day or something. I would just like get high in my car, and I would listen to audiobooks, and I would just drive all day, deliver food. And then I got sick of it. Like 3 or 4 months, my back started hurting. So I was like, you know what? Because I didn't want to go back to working full time, but I said like this is just it's not sustainable. So I started looking for jobs again at barbecue joints, and that's when I found Interstellar. Have you guys been?
No.
Oh, do you know about it?
No.
Oh shit, dude! you have to go. They just got named second best in Texas by Texas Monthly. Texas Monthly magazine. They come out with a top 50 barbecue joints in Texas every 4 years. This is the list, like right. This is the list that every pitmaster wants to be on. So Interstellar made it. The list came out in 2021. It's coming out again in January 2025. I'm very excited about it.
I cannot wait to see what you're
I have
ranked at.
very high hopes.
Let's go.
Yeah. So yeah, they recently got named the second after I quit Interstellar. They got named that. And this is the kind of list that will just like transform your entire life. Like once they got named, their business probably multiplied by 10, like at the least, and it just keeps growing. Right? This is a list that everybody looks at. So I applied and I went over and I talked to John, the owner. I was completely honest and frank, and I told him what I'm doing. And I was like, I was this close to opening my business, and then the pandemic hit. So I need a job. I need a job. It's gonna be temporary. I will help you help me. I told him my experience. I told him I can basically work any station you want. Like I can do anything in your restaurant. And I got hired there to work the smokers. And then I eventually ended up doing everything. Like I worked their line. I did their butchering. I did everything there. I had a great relationship with them. Like we both knew it was only going to be a few months, but I learned so much from him. And I also started my supper club during this time. I called it the underground KG Egyptian supper club. I was working at full-time. I had a full-time job there at Interstellar, but I was, a few months in, I started like getting the creative itch of like wanting to do my own thing. Because the pandemic, it's like we're in the pandemic. Nobody wants to go to a pop-up, or like nobody wants to come and learn how to make a steak, right?
Yeah.
Because everybody's like social distancing. So I started this underground thing with my friends only, and I was like, I hit up Curlin Barbecue and his wife, and then I hit up Mike, who's a dear friend that stood next to me when I moved here. He's like my father's age. Him and his wife, they have been extreme major supporters of what I do, and really dear friends of mine. They're now investors in KG BBQ.
Nice.
So I hit up Mike and Ami, his wife, and I hit up Curlin and Amelise. I was only 4 people on my dinner table, and I told them, you guys, I'm missing my creative space, and I think now is time for me to dive into Egyptian cuisine. Now that I've learned so much, I've worked so much here, I went to culinary school, I want to take this information and this knowledge that I have and go back to the roots of my country's food and start executing the dishes that I love eating, like grew up eating and never cooked, knowing all this information that I have now. So I invited them, and I was like, only 4 people on the table. And I was like, bring your own wine, and I'm going to cook a high-end 6-course Egyptian meal for you. And it was a blast. I still have a video of the whole thing.
Wow.
And then I was like, okay, what did you guys think? They were like, this was amazing. And then I, like a month or a few weeks later, I was like, I'm going to do it again, and ask a different group of friends. And every time I did it, I would take so many pictures and videos and post it on Instagram. And then I started doing it once a week. It was like Tuesday night, 6:30 every Tuesday. I would like press and iron my tablecloth, and I would press the napkins, and I would put like the forks, and I would look up videos on how to make it look nice, and I would print little menu cards. I would decide on the menu. Like I would just get dietary restrictions, and I would make up the menu, BYOB. I had the lights all like set up nicely, and I had a playlist, Egyptian music for this experience, and I would post this thing on Instagram all the time, and even did paid ads. And then it started like, I got so many people reaching out. How do we get in? How do we get in? Like we want to experience this. So that went from like 4 people on once a night to 8 people, because I had 6 seats on my dinner table, and then after that I opened like 2 bar stools for like a chef's table experience. It's like right on my counter. Like they're so watching all the action. Went from 4 people to 8 people twice a week. It was Monday, Tuesday, and it was booked like a month out. Like I had people. Of course, I can't sell food out of my kitchen, so I had it donation based. So it was like kind of like the old times.
Yeah.
I was like, you come in, this is what I'm gonna cook for you today. You enjoy your drinks. It's like a 3-hour experience, and you just pay whatever you think this was worth. You know, it's really open, relaxed. I started suggesting donations after that, because I would get like $15 donations.
Did
I
you
was
get?
like, you get the
Don't
You're
come back.
not allowed back.
$15. Like you pay pay more than Whataburger.
Yeah.
Did you get any crazy big donations randomly from people?
The biggest one I got was 120.
Wow.
That was from like a really good friend of mine, and I also got from my former chef from culinary school. He gave me a really high donation.
Nice.
Not from random people.
Really?
No, yeah, not from random people. Like on the higher end was 85
Okay.
from random people. The average was 40 to 60.
Okay.
And then I started suggesting 65.
Yeah.
I was like, it's gonna be worth my time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If all of you pay me $65.
Right.
But probably more important than that, it probably just like your creative juices were going. It probably just felt amazing to be doing something that was like truly your vision after working in all these restaurants and then finally about to get your big break and then COVID shuts everything down. It probably felt great just to be doing the pop-ups again, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. The whole supper club it really was transformative. And you guys there's still highlights of the supper club on my Instagram
Okay,
stories.
cool.
You should watch it, yeah. Because it really was transformative to me and to all of my guests too. Like everybody that came, I had so many people come back. So many people book the whole table for
That's
special
cool.
events. Yeah, they were like,
That's really cool.
I want to come back for my partner's birthday or my mom or like my parents are visiting town. I'm gonna book the whole table.
Wow.
So yes, like getting the creative juices flowing, and I would really enjoy the process of like, I there's a lot of dishes in Egypt that I grew up eating and I never made myself. So I'd really enjoy the process of like looking up the recipes, and I had started learning about all these YouTube chefs and like TV chefs in Egypt and Cairo, and like picking my favorite ones.
Wow.
And the process of like, okay, I'm gonna learn everybody's way, and then I'm gonna see how I can make it, how I can make my own version of it. And to be honest, there wasn't much barbecue in it. It was all Egyptian food.
Interesting.
Yeah, I even started grilling some stuff out back, but I was like, you know what? Like it's too much. It was just me sometimes, so I was like,
Right.
really learn how to use the oven also. So I would cook almost everything in the oven. But I would make, all the lamb. I mean, of course, I cooked a lot of meat. Like the oxtail. I did like surf and turf kebab. That was really good too. All different kinds of desserts and like I would make like cocktails, but like bring your own liquor. I usually would never suggest liquor. I would just ask people to get beer or wine.
Right.
Just don't want it to get too crazy.
Yeah.
It's not a liquor kind of night.
Maybe.
But yeah, like, and also the impact that it had on my business after the pandemic, after I hosted, it was a whole year of no pop-ups. Like I did the supper club for almost a whole year, no pop-ups at all. And then the first pop-up I did after the whole supper club thing, that was the first time that I had a line.
Wow.
Yeah, that was the first time that I had a line out the door. And of course, it was a moment. It was a moment. Like I was setting up and I start seeing people. And then by the time we were ready, I looked back and the line, it was at Diaz Market. The line goes all the way and then wraps a little bit around the corner. And I couldn't believe myself. I was like, I'm supposed to open. It's like 11, but I can't stop like taking videos of the line. I was like, wow, this is
So
really
special.
happening. Yeah. It was a huge moment. And then that was 2021. I started going back to pop-ups for the whole year. I quit Interstellar and then just kept doing again, going back to what I picked. I picked up where I left really. Before the pandemic, but like knowing so much and knowing I had so many recipes now under my belt from the supper club. I had a lot more followers, a lot more customer base because of the supper club. And then I started going back to the same thing that I was doing of just like classes, pop-ups, private dinners, events. I would sometimes go to Houston. Like people would hit me up, like we have, a special occasion in Houston. Would you come to Houston? And then 2022 is when I started working on the food truck. Like that was like the time when I decided to choose. I didn't know who will be my investors. Of course, I didn't have enough money to start the business. So what I did is I sat down and I wrote the business plan for KG BBQ. And I said, we need a food truck, we need a smoker, we need all this equipment. this is X amount of money that is needed. This is all I have. I'm gonna put all of it. So this is the exact capital that is needed, and I had a minimum and a maximum amount of investment required. I had a whole like rules of like what would be expected, like how much interference you can do in management, and of course all the pro formas and the budgets, and like that's where my finance comes super handy. I'm very grateful for my experience in finance world. I'm able to write and project financials based on the numbers that I did in my pop-ups. I was able to give them a very conservative number of how the sales and the costs and the profits are going to look like for the next 5 years, and how much time they're expected to get their money back. And then finally, spend the whole year working on that. Probably the first 3 months was in the business plan and sending it to my very close family and friends, and then getting the money. That was done probably within like 3 to 4 months. And then the rest of the year, I was just like from March or April all the way until we opened in October of 2022. That was all just execution, getting the smoker built, getting the food truck built, getting permits, deciding the location and all of that, hiring some people, and finally opened the doors to KG BBQ in October 1st, 2022. And, it's been a wild journey. Like I tell my girlfriend, it's been like hanging on to the side of a rocket ship.
Dang. October 1st, 2022 is the day that we got down to Austin. That's
really?
Crazy. Yeah.
You got moved
We were
to Austin.
2021.
2021, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where? From where? Where'd you guys come from?
Boston and New York.
New York.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
What's interesting about your story to me is like it doesn't surprise me how quickly things took off based on all the grunt work that you had done up until that point. Like you probably had hundreds of fans or thousands of fans that you had served that knew about what you were up to and knew whatever you were going to do was going to be special. Yeah. And they were probably just anticipating and waiting for you to do that, which is cool because if you talk to anybody in town, it's like, they hear KG BBQ, it's like their eyes light up. They're like, God, it's amazing. Yeah. So it's just incredible to hear the full story too.
Yeah, it really has been. And I mean, you're right. Like it shouldn't be surprising how crazy it exploded, but it still is. It still is. Like the amount of stuff we're going through and the amount of sales we're cranking out of the food truck and how quickly it's growing, and the articles and the videos and the awards, like everything is coming out like a freaking James Beard.
James Beard
nomination, dude. Like I didn't even know what James Beard did. Like, like for real, I thought James Beard is like high end dining and restaurants, and like I'm here chasing barbecue. I'm chasing Texas Monthly. I'm chasing the festivals. I'm chasing like lists of barbecue in Texas, and then James Beard comes out. I'm like, okay, I need that now. Like I didn't know I needed it.
But I need it.
So yeah, I mean you're right. I did put extreme hard work in this. It really doesn't feel like it because of how much I was and I still am invested in it.
Yeah, it's.
I was gonna say one of the parts of your stories that really stood out to me was when you were talking about how the resistance to quit your finance job was born out of kind of that what you were expecting your parents and what your parents were saying about your job, and you said you wish you had kind of quit sooner. But I wonder if there's a silver lining in all that built up that anticipation and that hunger for you to actually pursue this with that relentlessness that it appears like you have, where it's like, I'm just going to put everything I have into this because it's something I truly believe to my bones that I'm going to make work.
Yes. I never really thought about it, but I think you might be right in the sense that, first of all, it took longer than I wanted to leave my job, right? So it's almost in the sense that I felt like I had less time to work on this. And the challenge part, like I think my brother and I think we both have that trait of like always living and needing challenges and always wanting to be challenged all the time. So I think I took that as a challenge, is to prove everyone that that I can, survive and doing what I love and doing what I want, and I don't have to pursue the societal expectations of the family of like, because it's so much like that in Egypt, Middle East, and like, I'm sure it's like that in like a lot of Eastern countries or Asian countries as well. It's like the expectations of lawyer, doctor, engineer, So if you leave that norm and you go outside of the box, it's very scary. And the parents, it comes from a loving place, of course.
Yeah,
definitely.
But it's like a lot of projection too. Like a lot of these people and these parents they have dreams and they never pursued them because they think it's not the right thing to do, and they think that it's just like a fantasy. So seeing their child do that is scary. And they would do whatever they need to do to stop them and to make them stick to the norm and the societal expectations. So I think, yes, like a part of it is like, was a challenge for me. And also being in Austin, like I think I also took that as a challenge, because like, why would I stay here if I can go to Egypt and like be the only one that does it?
Right.
Yeah.
Versus like trying to survive within the sharks,
Yeah. Totally.
But then then you almost inversed it, where now it's like in Austin, you're one of one because no one else is doing what you're doing.
Yes, you're right.
It's so interesting.
Yes.
That's why I think podcasts are so valuable, because it's like someone that's going to KG, they're seeing like the closest thing to a finished product of your life's work, but they don't understand all the steps and the decade-long journey to actually get here too. Like even just the willingness to work that first job at, was it Curlin's for 3 months without any money. It's like, well, you take the drive of that guy and then you give him his own food truck. It's going to be something pretty magical. Yes. And that's why it makes sense, because I'm sure there's part of your brain that probably hasn't even adapted to the meteoric success that you've had, because October of 22 is not long ago at all. And now when people reference the best barbecue, everyone is listing KG top 3, maybe even a lot of people reference it number 1. Yeah. We reference it as number 1. So, it's probably right. It's probably crazy for your brain to try and wrap around that.
Absolutely is. It absolutely
knowing
is.
that you've worked at almost every single top barbecue restaurant, and now it's like with your unique blend and this art, it's like, it's something beautiful. It's incredible.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's more than a food truck too. It's almost like a restaurant on wheels, right? Like, right? And that's what I feel like, the dining experience in the.
You've just taken over that that outdoor area of the. Was that supposed to be a mixed use, like mix of the brewery and you, or was that mostly?
It's
for you
all
guys?
The brewery. It's all the brewery.
Okay.
We're only using their seating. Like our customers can utilize their seating, their bathrooms, but we don't even have a say of how the seating looks like. Yeah. But this is all their seating. This is all their brewery. Our food truck is just parked there, and our customers can get our food and go enjoy the brewery.
Yeah, I can't help but think about just like the artistic nature in which you've pursued the dream of yours, where your heart is just fully into it. You're fully financially invested in this. You're working without pay, and you just want to like see this dream come to fruition. Yeah. And I think that is also another part of why people are drawn to it, because there aren't really that many true artists out there anymore. Yes. Like a lot of the world is like diluted. Even music today, it's like you can make it on a computer.
Yes.
Yeah. So
and I think that's the difference. Is like people create. You can create art to please others. But I don't think it will ever make it, Like, it's like usually the art or the songs or the music that really hits us is something that is coming from someone that is experiencing something. Yeah. And they put it into words, or put this art is like, that is relatable for some reason. It's not only relatable, but it's something that you can look at and admire in someone. And I feel like it's so easy, especially in the restaurant business, to find people that open up restaurants or coffee shops that they have money, and it's like something that they've always wanted to do, to have my own restaurant, right? And a lot of people do that, and it's just a pure business idea. Yeah. And they end up hiring someone that either doesn't have enough passion or doesn't really know what they're doing, and that's why like way more restaurants fail than succeed. Way more. Like it's a crazy number, like multiples of restaurants. For every one restaurant that actually makes it or stays in business, there's multiple others that fail. Which you know, makes sense. It makes sense with like because it's an industry and it's a type of work that like needs so much of your life. It needs so much attention and care and attention to detail, and it will take up so much of your effort and brain. And like after, you know, opening, I would go home and dream. Like I would have dreams every day in the first 6 months. Whether it is our new buzzers, you know, I would go to sleep and dream of the buzzer, like going like the order, like someone is here to pick up their food. You know? Like I swear, like I would get dreams of the buzzers. I would even be awake and I would hear the buzzer. That and like people standing in line, and I would just be so anxious and afraid all the time that someone's gonna be angry of waiting for so long. Like what is taking us so long to make the food? And then the people that stand in line for so long, their expectations grow, and that's even scarier, right? So I would get like when we started having lines, that was my stress dreams. It's like people being angry for waiting so much.
Yeah.
Right.
But the good part is that customers that are coming there, they're expecting the line. And it's almost like the pain of the line makes the food that much more worth it too at the end of the day.
Absolutely.
Or you can do what we do and just skip the line and order online and just pick it up from the
exactly.
back, right? And avoid all
Not
that.
many people know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got to cut this out of the episode.
No, keep it. But like it's usually it's tricky because once it gets crazy, we always close it.
Yeah.
We always close online ordering.
Yeah.
When it's crazy, because I would rather like serve the people that show up. But the smartest thing to do, and I would say this live here, is to order ahead of time. It's like because our online ordering, once we close on Sunday for the week, everything is open and everything is in stock. So you Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, you can order for the week. But then once the rush hits and once there's a line, the online orders are shut down. We close them. So really the best way to do it, if you know that you're coming on a weekend, is to place your order early during the week and schedule it.
Professional tips from the master himself. So your dream of the buzzer going off, my equivalent nightmare is showing up for rice and there not being cashews in the rice. That's because the nuts are so. It's the best. It's by far the best rice I've ever had. There are so many times where if I want like a somewhat healthy lunch, I'll literally just get ribs, lamb chops, rice.
Yeah.
And it's the best meal.
Yes.
A little bit of barbecue sauce. It's incredible.
Yeah. The rice is my favorite. The rice is my favorite thing.
Insane.
With the pomegranates.
It's the same thing. With crazy how many people come back and say the same thing about the rice. Like the rice is like it's a surprise.
Yeah.
It's almost like dessert, and there's so much going on, and it's just the rice. I'm not talking about the bowls. Like just the rice.
Just the
as a
rice
side.
itself.
Yeah, with the nuts and the pomegranate seeds. It's savory, but it's sweet, and there is a lot of like you got the sour, cold crunch from the pomegranate. You got the sweetness and the chewy raisin, and the rice is nice and fluffy, and it's very aromatic, flavorful.
The nuttiness.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, like it's. You know, I mean, I always liked like the rice bowl is a good representation of my childhood eating habits because my brother. I have one brother, 2 years older. We're very close together, and he eats in a totally different way. He is the kind of diner or eater that he would like not my food can be touching.
Oh,
right? He was like, which is a little psychopath.
Yeah. OCD.
Yeah,
Just need the
OCD,
separation. Yeah.
So like he would eat the protein first, and then finish the protein, and then eat the rice, and then eat the salad or whatever order. On the other hand, there's me. Like I would ask my mom for a big bowl.
Yeah.
And I would ask to put everything together.
Just combine.
Yeah.
Combine it all together.
That's
Like,
the way
I
to
want
do
the
it.
rice and the salad and the sauce. And then I want my protein chopped up in pieces and put it in the bowl. And then I just mix it and eat it. So it's like thinking of like, I was talking to my friends recently about this and like, what is the rice? Like, why? What is the idea of this rice bowl? And this came to my mind. Like, this is how I used to eat when I grew up. But the story of the rice bowl is it came as a family meal, actually. In one of my pop-ups, we had leftovers, and I used to sell the rice as a side, and we had some rice left over, and I like to feed everybody if I can. So I ended up, he was like, you know what, there's some rice, we have some brisket left, so let me chop it up, put it here, and a little bit of that salad with the sauce on top, and I put some nuts, and we made the rice bowl. It was not on the menu. And we sat down after a long day on the coolers, and we were eating this, and we were like, "Damn, this needs to be on the menu."
That's my favorite thing on the menu.
Yeah.
It really is.
It's so good.
I always say it's the best way to experience the menu. Is you gotta get a rice bowl, like as a start,
Totally.
because it's a good way to experience the entire menu.
A little bit
You're
of everything.
getting 2 sides. You can get 2 proteins if you get a combo rice bowl, but you're getting the whole experience. You know, the
Right.
sauce, and it's the, you know, it has the nuts and the pomegranates, and you can get the protein of your choice, the sauce of your choice. So it's a great way to experience a lot of the menu in just one plate.
Is there a part of your story that you're most proud of?
You know, I think I'm most proud of my persistence, and I don't think there's a single part. There's so many parts. Honestly, there's so many parts that I feel proud of. I have this this sheet on my Google Drive. I call it the cookie jar. It's like where every time something comes out, an article or acclimate or a video, I put it in the cookie jar, and this is like what I go back to look at whenever I'm having a hard time with anything. So there is, you know, there's a lot of moments that I feel so proud of, you know, like the supper club, feeling established, feeling that I'm giving something or creating a space and an experience that people are wanting to line up for. And also not just that, representing my country and the food of Egypt and this probably is one of my biggest pride points, is like being able to be in a different country like the US, like, right? This is like we're in America. And I'm able to draw the attention of the crowds and the people into Egypt and its culture and its food that brings me so much joy and pride in what I do. But I would say it's you know, I'm most proud of myself for how persistent I am, and I give that, like, why am I here today is because I kept going when things didn't seem, when I didn't believe in what I'm doing and I didn't know what the hell was happening. And I always think of it as like the dark, you know, the dark before the sunrise, right? Like you're putting your head down, you're at such hard work, you have no idea what's happening, you have no idea where you're gonna get, or if you're even gonna get anywhere, and you're working so hard without seeing any reward or seeing any light, right? So I feel like everybody that goes into a story or goes into whatever career you're in or whatever project you're in, before you succeed, you have to go through this tunnel where you see no light, and your only light is believing in the future. Like you're believing in this thing that is going to happen, and the more work you put to it, the more steps you move towards that direction, you'll finally see it. You'll finally go through and come out the other way and see the light. So like, I feel like this, you know, to me, it was you know, it's an 8-year process now. Like and I started seeing, honestly, like I would say, after the supper, like the first line I had in my food truck, in my pop-ups, this is like when I was like, wow, this is when I think to me, this was the moment I exited the tunnel.
Wow.
Yeah, this was like, okay, this is real. Like there's people in Austin, the capital of barbecue, that are lining up for my food, you know? So that was probably, if I would pick a moment, it would be that, my first line.
The lights, you're probably saying the light's not just in my head anymore. I've like actually created this vision that's real and tangible, and other people believe in me too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Which is, you know, I mean, and I want to say, you know, like people can really shift your mentality whether it is people that they love you or not, or they're trying to, like something like in the TV industry, for example, you can go in some things that can make you or break you, whether it's true or not, you know, like, or some like, even from friends or family that tell you things that will make you stop believing in yourself. And that's something that could have been like some of the toughest parts in not letting these words or the opinions of other people affect you, right? This was probably one of the toughest things. And that was probably also why it took me so long, because all of these doubts and all of these peoples and what people thought of what I'm doing and where I could go, and if I fail, what they're gonna think of me. So like, I feel like one of the biggest challenges is to let go of what people think, because nobody is in your shoes. Like you make your own destiny, and if you listen to other people, you're gonna live other people's lives. But like going through this and failing and getting back up and going through this dark, long ass tunnel to come out the other side is priceless. It has been a priceless experience.
Yeah, it makes you savor every ounce of success you'll ever get from here.
Yes.
And I think a lot about, do you know Robert Greene? He wrote this book, The 48 Laws of Power. I don't know if he also wrote this other book called Mastery. And one of the things he said, which actually reminded me of you, he said that if you are thinking about quitting your job, your regular corporate job, you should do it, because clearly you're not intrinsically motivated by your corporate job.
Yeah.
So if you're not intrinsically motivated by your job, you're not going to actually do the things to push you ahead. So if you stay in that job, you'll always be thinking about the ultimate passion that you want to be doing, and you'll just do the bare minimum at your job and probably coast through middle management, maybe get fired.
Yeah.
And then not only are you working that job, you're potentially getting fired when there was this whole other version of yourself that existed.
Yeah.
So you're better off being the crazy Egyptian that goes to the U.S.
Better off being the Egyptian cowboy.
The Egyptian cowboy.
Yeah, to turn this vision into reality. And those 3 months of no pay, restaurant to restaurant, COVID, pop-ups, it just makes everything you're doing so worth it. And that's why we love doing this show, is because you get the goldmine episodes like this that motivates both Harry and I for the journey that we're on.
Yes.
And a lot of other people that are going to be listening to this episode, dude. So your story is amazing. We appreciate you sharing it, coming on the podcast.
Absolutely.
And we got to do we got to do some type of cooking together, right?
Oh yeah,
We need some type of cooking.
We
got to learn from the Egyptian cowboy.
Yeah, I would love that.
That'd be so fun.
I bet you're an amazing teacher too.
I love
with how
teaching.
much
I love teaching. Like, this is like I've done a lot of things in my career, in my cooking career, and teaching is what I absolutely enjoy the most. Like, it gives me so much, it gives back. Like, I love the idea of I mean, of course, there's things that you will never learn from me. Like the barbecue sauce.
Well, we'll see. We'll give that to
You're like, let's see how many beers we can get.
Yeah, we'll bring the hard liquor.
But it's like the idea of because I feel like I had so many stepping stones, you know, in this journey, and like I depended and relied on so many people, and I took their knowledge and their information in order to be where I am today, you know. So it's not just about like sitting in a room with people and teaching them how to smoke a brisket or cook a steak, and just seeing them so like brightly excited about it and very excited to take it home and try it at home, and the pictures that I get from people. I always tell people, if you cook a brisket, please share a picture. And I get it all the time. Like, people like hit me up with emails and like, I cooked my first brisket. It was great. Thank you. But the idea of giving this back to the community, like, I've been through this and I would have been nothing without my mentors and the people that taught me. So the idea of giving this back to the people and to the community is very satisfying to me.
Definitely.
It's amazing. Well, love your story. Thank you so much for sharing it with us, and our audience is going to love this. So
Thank you, guys.
Anyone who's not in Austin and is planning a trip, make sure you go to KG BBQ, because it is the best in town.
Yes. Thank you guys so much. And I want to say also, for the people that are in town, I'm going to be, which I'm super excited about this, I'm going to be giving a TED Talk in UT.
Let's go.
Yeah, March 23rd. for all of our local beloved Austinites.
That's amazing.
If you are in town, come through. It's gonna be in UT campus, TEDx UT, March 23rd. I still can't believe that I'm going
That's
there.
incredible.
It's nerve-wracking.
You're gonna
I
be
don't know
great.
how
Yeah.
we're gonna do this, but
Are you gonna have a grill on or a pit on
Grill, yeah.
stage?
hey, do you
No
hate
props.
your job?
What's the topic gonna be?
I think it's gonna be, the idea of pursuing your dreams
Love it.
and doing what you love and not listening to other people. I'm really gonna be doing like what I'm doing here, just like kind of
Yeah.
saying my story and the timeline of my story, and always relating it with the different dynamics of this message, relating that to my story. But really, the big message I'm telling everyone is trying to tell them and be a live example of that you can do what you love.
Yeah.
You don't have to be stuck in a 9 to 5. And if you have passion, I believe that every one of us is born here in this world to do something different.
Yeah.
Whether it is you're a leader or you're a follower, there's so many different styles of people and psychological mentalities and passions, and it's beautiful. Like we need that. We need this diversity of styles of people. So everybody knows that deep inside. They know whether they want to believe it or not. They know what they're here and what they're born to do. Most of us do that, but we just kind of like shove it down and just like believe in what we're going through right now, and then you end up regretting it. Like this, to me, that was the biggest driver, is regretting that I didn't do it.
Yeah.
Like being like 50 years old and being like, I could have done this. Like that was the feeling that I moved across the world because to avoid that. I was like, I don't want to live with that. Like I would rather go and fail and come back, just to know that I at least I tried.
Yeah. That regret would be like a mental prison.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I couldn't imagine anyone more equipped to speak on that topic of going for it and chasing your dreams and leaning into your uniqueness better than you. So March 23rd at UT.
March 23rd, yes.
Can we go?
Yes,
All right,
absolutely.
awesome.
Sweet.
Absolutely.
We'll be there.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, that's gonna be amazing.
Thank you,
Look
guys.
forward to it.
Let
Thank
me know
you,
when
brother.
you
Yeah.
want to cook now.
Let's do it.
We appreciate it, man. Thank you, Kareem.
Love it. Thanks, Kareem.
Yeah, absolutely.
Brother, that was